Morning, Professor. How are you?
Good morning. Oh, so it was you, was it?
It was actually Britta calling you. However, I didn't see the need to interrupt you. How are you feeling?
No, I'm not feeling too well, but that's not important. Don't worry about
Not
it.
a
When I start talking, I forget my pain.
No problem at all. Well, good day, everyone, from wherever you are around the world, and welcome to our webinar today. It is a pleasure to see you all here once more. Some familiar faces from our previous two topics. It's really good to see you guys here. So today's webinar will be again our Doctor of Engineering Research Toolbox webinar. The slide up on the screen is actually for the notifications tab so that you guys do not receive any notifications as new people join or leave the webinar. So if you could please just turn off the notifications so that you're not disturbed during the presentation. Okay, so the webinar guidelines. So if you're familiar with EIT's webinars, we generally have a Q&A session at the end where you are able to ask the host. Today it is Professor Kalam, your questions this time around because it is an interactive webinar. At the end of the webinar, I will be able to give you guys presenting rights so that you can speak to the professor and ask your questions. So towards the end of the webinar, once I have opened the Q&A session, could you please just raise your hands so that I know who would like to ask their questions, and then I can give them rights to speak to the professor. Please keep your questions clear and brief so that the professor can answer your questions and move on to the next person. Okay, so as this is a info session, you will receive a copy of the slides as well as the video recording. This should be mailed to your inboxes within 2 business days. Please also monitor your junk, spam, and promotional folders for this particular webinar. The details will be sent for sure by the marketing team. They'll send them to the emails that you use to register for the webinar. Okay, so a little bit more about EIT. So EIT is an engineering institution. We offer world-class engineering qualifications from engineering specialists who are in the field and currently working with us to provide you on current and on trend engineering courses. So we offer industry-oriented programs. Our programs are actually designed by industry experts who ensure that graduates have cutting edge skills that will be making them valued members in the job market. So, our qualifications range from vocational education and training programs to higher education programs. We offer from a professional certificate of competency all the way to a doctor of engineering, which is what you guys are here for today. So we are industry experts and we have industry orientated and experienced lecturers who take their knowledge and skills from their day-to-day jobs and impart them into the courses that we offer at the institution. So we offer a unique delivery model rather, which is both online and on campus. All our courses can be studied online, and if you are able to, you are welcome to study on campus. We offer our courses, that being the bachelor's, master's, and Doctor of Engineering on campus. We have 3 campuses: the Perth campus, Melbourne campus, and our newly open campus, which is in Brisbane. You guys are more than welcome to check our website for the details. However, I will be providing you with the link to our website so that you're able to see where you can study our courses. Okay. So without further ado, let me give the reins to Professor Kalam. He will be presenting today's webinar. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Please make sure to leave your questions towards the end of the webinar. I will be happy to provide you with the rights to ask your questions to the professor. Professor Kalam, there you go. You may start with your webinar.
Thank you very much, Piso. As usual, thank you very much. You've given a very good start, and I want to start with an apology. It's just that I'm immobile. I've just had a knee replacement 2 days back, and so if my quality is a bit bad, please forgive me for that. I'm asking for apology right in the beginning, so that you don't complain later on. Anyway, today's topic is one of the most important part in the research calendar. when you talk about research methodology. And remember, we are talking about a DEng program. So there is a, a substantial amount of requirement which dictates that you have to have that re- research, rigorous research, or as well as academic rigor should be there, as well as collaborative rigor should be there. So all that combined together is not just developing a new program or developing a new experiment. You have to come up with a research methodology, and I'm giving it from an academic point of view because it will be one of the academics who will be judging your thesis. Now, that's me, and you can see what I am and what I was and what I'm doing. But one thing is for certain that I'm passionate about education and teaching, especially the higher education side. And I'm very much committed to science and engineering education, research, consultancy, and I'm more than happy to work in collaboration with industry and communities within Australia and overseas. Now, this is just the agenda. Okay, forget about that. Let's go to the introduction. I've already given a presentation in the last two seminars on supervisor and how to develop a research topic. These were very good. You've done it, you know it, you can handle it. The next hurdle that we have, and that's what we are talking about today, is research methodology. And that is problematic. Because if your research methodology is not right, then I don't believe that you will be able to go forward in your research. It is very important that you get this right. So now, what is this research methodology? It is basically the reasoning, the certain techniques and method that you're going to use. You need to describe and explain your chosen, you need to do that. You need to describe and explain your chosen methods. So you need to first have the research questions and hypotheses. Then you have to have enough detail that others can replicate if required. If there are other researchers who want to work with it, then they can replicate it. Now you have to be very careful over here because sometimes you will have an industry project and industry may not be very happy of sharing the intellectual right or intellectual properties. So you have to be very careful if there is an industry project that you get approvals from the industry to publish that work or to share that work. I remember when I was doing my doctoral study, we were very reluctant in giving all the details in our publication because we didn't want to share that till the PhD or DEng was obtained. So at every stage of your research, you have to explain the work and you have to justify. And you have to give absolutely clear, crystal information on the methods that you have chosen and how you can answer the research question. So, let us try and focus on explaining the rationale of your work. How did you collect the data? How did you generate the data? Which research methods did you use? Why did you choose these methods and techniques? How do you use these methods for analyzing the research questions or problems? So you need to know this, why you're doing it. You have to focus that very clearly, that how can you collect the data? How can you generate the data? Now, the other thing is that which research method did you use? I'll tell you the various research methods in a minute. But which method did you use? Why did you choose those methods? Why did you use those techniques? How do you use these methods for analyzing the research questions or problems? So these are the four things that you have to focus on. Viz Richie, why do you have your hands up, man? Can you please get out of that? Viz Richie, can you can you get out of that because it's blocking my views in this slide? Viz, can you lower your hand? Yes, thank you very much, Viz. Now let me first define you what is research methodology. First of all, it is the techniques and procedure. Why do you need these techniques and procedures? Because you want to identify and analyze the information regarding a particular specific research topic. And remember, for a doctoral degree is the highest qualification. So you cannot be just copying from someone else's work and claiming it is yours. I mean, I tell my students that you should think about a project which will be applicable between 20 to 25 years' time. Because it won't be that easy to accept something which is not there. And that's where you have to give a clear understanding that your work is novel, your work is new, your work is innovative. No one else has gone to that frontier of science as you have done. So, so here, you as a researcher will design your study so you can achieve your objectives using the research instruments that you have chosen. So, what are the aspects of conducting research? The design itself, the data collection, the data analysis, and the overall framework. These are four things: research design, data collection, data analysis, overall framework. So this will help you understand the research methodology. You also need to know why it is important to choose the right methodology. So now that is why I said, why is research methodology important? That's the question everyone asks me, and towards the end I will also show you what's the difference between research methodology and research methods. But at the moment, I want to answer a question: why is research methodology important? First of all, it will help any newcomer or new researcher wanting to replicate your work, and the explanation that you have given will benefit that person. You do not want to recreate or reinvent the wheel again. If you have done it, let others follow from that and go forward. I'm not saying go backward, but go forward. Quickly answer any questions about your research if they arise later. It provides a framework and guideline for researchers so that you can define your research questions, your hypotheses and objectives absolutely crystal clear. It will help researchers identify the most appropriate research design, the sampling technique and data collection and analysis method. It will help researchers ensure that their findings are valid, reliable, and free from biases and errors. It helps to ensure that you are following ethical guidelines. My friends, please note that ethical guidelines has to be followed to the dot. If you are working with human subject, if you're working with animal subject, if you've got any person who is a living being involved, you have to have ethical approvals. Ethics is very important. The good thing from our point of view in engineering, we are working with inarticulate object. So many times we do not require to take any any ethical approval. But if you are doing surveys, if you are going to talking to people, you need to get ethical approval. So what are the various methods? There are three various methods. There are three methods that I can think of. One is quantitative, the other is qualitative, and the third is a hybrid type, the mixed method. The first method, which is the quantitative method, focuses on measuring and testing numerical data. So you are measuring and testing your numerical data. it's good for reaching many people in a very short frame of time. So quantitative, people understand quantitative. Qualitative is very hard because this delves deep into people's opinions, behaviors, and experiences, collects and analyzes words with textual data, offering a rich and insightful understanding of the research subject. But this is harder. Then the mixed one, the mixed one that you have uses the characteristics of both quantitative and qualitative research methodologies in the same study. So it validates results observed using both methods are complementary. So the mixed method includes both the quantitative and the qualitative methods. Now let's look at these various research methodologies. The thing that I want to talk about is sampling. Sampling is an integral part of research methodology. Here you select a representative sample of the population to conduct the study. Then you do the statistical inferences and you estimate the characteristics of the whole population based on these inferences. So there are two types of design. One is the probability sampling and the other is non-probability sampling. The probability sampling is a sample which chooses from a large population using some form of random selection. See, the probability is random. That is, every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. The different type of probability samplings are simple, systematic, or strat field. So simple one is every single member is chosen randomly. Systematic one, you choose sample members at regular intervals. So here it requires selecting a starting point for the sample and determine the sample size that can be replaced at regular interval. This sample method has a predefined range, hence it is the least time consuming. The stratified one, researchers divide the population into smaller groups that don't overlap but represent the entire population. By sampling, these groups can be organized and a simple sample can be drawn from each group separately. There's another one too, I forgot, the cluster. So it's not only simple, systematic, stratified, but there's also cluster. Here the population is divided into clusters, which is dependent on the demography like age, sex, location, etc. Now, the other type of sampling is non-probability sampling. The non-probability sampling. This involves feedback based on researchers' sample selection, the capabilities that it has, and it's not on a fixed selection process. So you remember the probability one, there was a fixed selection process. Here, it could be convenience, it could be purposes, it could be snowball, it could be quota. So the convenience one, the participants are selected by being most accessible to researchers due to the geography. That means the proximity, the availability at a particular time, etc. The purposive one, the participants are selected at the discretion of the researcher. So research consider the study's purpose and the target understanding of the audiences. The snowball one is already selected participants use their social network to refer the researcher to other potential participants. The quota one, while designing the study, the researchers decide how many people with which characteristic to include as participants. The characteristics help them choose people most likely to provide insight into the subject. So let us see how do you collect your data. What are the methods? There are two methods, quantitative and qualitative. I already mentioned to you. And they have different collection methods. The qualitative one, you do one-to-one interview. Very easy. You've got a subject in front of you, you do interview. Help the reviewers understand your respondent subject, opinion, and experience pertaining to a specific topic or event. It could be document study or literature review. Most of you will be doing literature review, record keeping, finding what other people have done in this area and what new you can do. So, here is where the research review of already existing written materials such as archives, annual reports, research articles, guidelines, policy document, conference paper, journal paper, you name it. The focus group, constructive discussions that usually include a small sample of about 6 to 10 people and a moderator to understand the participants' opinion on a given topic. The qualitative observation, the researcher collects data using their 5 senses, which is the sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. The 5 senses, the sight, that is the eyes, smell, which is the nose, the touch, which is your finger, the taste, which is the tongue, hearing, which is your ears. So you get these 5 senses and you do the observation. The other one I said was quantitative one. The most common type of probability sampling is by doing interviews. And you can do it in telephone, you can do it in person, you can send them emails. There are n number of ways you can do that. Observation. And many of us, especially in engineering, we'll be doing observation. We're doing lab experiments where we have got structured observations. They are most commonly used in quantitative research. Here, you as researcher will make observation about specific behaviors of individual in a structured setting. The third type is the document review. That means you look at a journal paper, you look at a review paper, you look at a conference paper, you look at documents from the industry, you look at manufacturing sheets. All that will give you enough evidence to support the research. And the last type is surveys and questionnaires. Surveys can be administered both online and offline, depending on the requirement and sample size. Many people you would be sending, if you're sending it offline, you will find that many people do not respond to you unless and until you give them some sort of reward, like $100 or something like that, so that they will answer you truthfully. So, how do you choose a research methodology? So there are some factors that are required if you're choosing a research methodology. First thing that I want you to understand, you must know what is the objective of your research. What is the aims of your research and what are the research questions? If you know those three things, the objectives, the aims, the questions, you can structure your research design. The second thing that you have to do is to look at existing literature. That means, as I told you, for us, the easiest thing is to look at textbook, for journal papers, for conference papers. And since we are in engineering area, you will find that there's no point going to a research article which is written about 50 years back, because the technology keeps on changing very fast. You must be absolutely thorough in the last 5 years of work that you can focus on. So you check the statistical requirements. If it's data driven or statistical results are needed, quantitative research is the best method. If the research question can be answered based on people's opinion and perception, then you do qualitative. If you're looking for perception and opinion of people, go for qualitative. If you're looking um, for um, for statistical results, it's data driven, and most of our work is data driven. For us, it is the quantitative research. The size of the sample. This will determine the feasibility of the research methodology. For a large sample, less effort and time intensive methods are appropriate. And large sample always gives you a more accurate results than a small sample. Constraints. Remember, you've got constraints. You have to finish your Doctor of Engineering in 3 years' time. Okay? Time is money, my friend. You have to finish this. So full time, if you are doing, you have to finish it in 3 years' time. So time is very important. You can't go in tangentially off somewhere else. You have to look at the geography of the place. The resource constraints can help design or define the appropriate methodology. Not all institutions in the world have got MIT type of equipment. It doesn't. This is not uh, Cambridge and Oxford and other where they have got indefinite source of research funding. That's what you will have problems because you will be constrained by the material. The good thing is that because I hope that your project will be industry based, then you will get a lot of support from the industry. So, so, so how can you write a research methodology? So, as I told you in the beginning, it will be based on your design, it will be based on your methodology, your specific methodology, and the instrument that you're using. The four things. So, the research design will depend on the research questions and the data required. The common research design include experimental, quasi-experimental, correlational, descriptive, and exploratory. Now, someone might ask, what is a quasi-experimental? Like a true experiment, a quasi-experimental design aims to establish a cause and effect relationship between an independent and dependent variable. However, unlike a true experiment, a quasi-experiment does not rely on random assignment. Instead, subjects are assigned to group based on non-random criteria. So then the second thing is using your research method. This, as I told you, could be quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. Why you chose that, what's the reason for that specific methodology? This will explain why the methodology is most suitable to answer your research problem. The research instrument. This is the instrument that you plan to use, mainly referring to the data collection method, such as interviews, surveys, etc. Here, as well, a reason should be mentioned for selecting the particular instrument. Okay, again, continuing the sampling. This involves selecting a representative subject of the population being studied. Your data collection involves gathering data using several data collection methods, such as surveys, interviews, etc. The data analysis talks about the data analysis method you use once you have collected the data. The research limitation, everything has a limitation. So mention the limitation, there's no problem. You mention the limitation that you're going to have while conducting your research. The validity and reliability. The validity helps identify the accuracy and truthfulness of the finding. Reliability refers to the consistency and stability of the results over time and across different conditions. Again, I've talked about ethical consideration. Now, as I told you, for engineering is not a big worry, but other areas, ethical value is very important. Research should be conducted ethically. The considerations include obtaining consent from participants, maintaining confidentiality, and addressing any conflict of interest. So now some of the questions I've asked myself, and I said, look, what could be frequently asked questions? First question people ask me is that what are the key components of research methodology? What is it? I've been talking about that. I've told you it is research design, it is sampling, it is the tools that you use, is data collection procedures, is data analysis method, is ethical consideration. So fundamentally, these six components, the key components which are there, will give you a good research methodology. Now, the second question, why is ethical consideration important? I've told you, ethical consideration is essential in research methodology so you can ensure the readers of the reliability and validity of the study. Researchers must mention the ethical norms and standards followed during the research, and if the research has been cleared by any institutional board. Every institution has an ethics committee which looks at it and approves the process. So it must be done through that board. The following points are the important principle. First thing, you must not put any subject to harm. So, say for argument's sake, you are doing test on mice. You can't keep on killing mice. You must respect the dignity of participants, and it should be prioritized. You have to have full consent. You cannot use anyone else's material or information for your own purpose. You must get clearance first from the people whom you are surveying. You get consent before the study, or else you will find you are in breach of trust. You must ensure that the privacy of participants are there. You cannot compromise on that. Then what you do is you must keep confidentiality. The research is a very confidential type of work. Supposing you're doing work for industry may not like you to keep on informing everyone about the various methods because that will violate the uh, the confidentiality agreement that your institution might have with that industry. So it's very important that intellectual property should be secretly hidden from others. And you have to ensure that you are not compromising on that. There are certain individuals, there could be companies or organizations who do not want their name to be mentioned. You know, you're doing work for, say, a power utility. That you don't want that power utility name to come out because that you cannot say that I'm working for South African electricity utility or something like that. The aims and objectives of the research should not be exaggerated. This is one very big problem that I find in many doctoral work. Because of the zeal and enthusiasm, students have a tendency of exaggerating their aims and objectives. There's no need, my friends. There's no need whatsoever of exaggerating. Affiliations, funding sources, and any possible conflict interest should be declared. You will find this very important, especially if you're writing good quality papers. You have to tell what is your affiliation, which institution you are from, what are the funding sources you've got. And now, with many of them asking for an article processing charge, that means you have to have some funding available to get that publication going. And you have to make sure that any conflict of interest is there should be declared right up front. If there's any communication concerning the research, it should be honest and transparent. Misleading on information and biased representation of primary data findings should be avoided. So this is my second question. My third question that I had was, this is what I told you in the beginning. What's the difference between research methodology and research method? The two terms, research methodology and research methods, could be very confusing to people. It looks like it's exactly the same. Let me tell you what's the difference. Research method is a tool that you use to gather data. Research methodology gives you a framework. Remember, it's a framework for planning, conducting, and analyzing research. The research methodology gives the researcher guides in making decision about the most appropriate method for their research. Research method refer to the specific techniques, procedures, and tools researchers use to collect, analyze, and interpret data. For instance, surveys, questionnaires, and interviews. So there is heaven and hell difference between research method and research methodology. So you can understand, my friend, research methodology is an integral part of research study. It helps ensure that you stay on track, that you can meet your research objectives and answer your research question using the most appropriate data collection analysis tools based on your research design. Now, a bit on EIT. I want to mention a bit on EIT. I'm very keen in promoting this DEng program. The reason is that because I was the one who started the program. I was the one who wrote the documents for this. And I'm very keen to see this succeed. We're very lucky that in EIT we have got 40 students doing a Doctor of Engineering program today. So if you want to boost your career and position yourself to make yourself more meaningful contribution to your field, the best thing is for you to do a DEng. Traditionally, when I was a student, we didn't have any DEng program in my time. We used to do a traditional PhD program. There were two types of program. One is the American model, the other is a British model. I mean, I did the British model where you've got a small topic. In United States, you've got coursework element as well as your research topic, and that combined together gives a PhD. Where this is an industry-based PhD, an industry-based doctoral program. What is EIT? As Shipiso mentioned it right early, EIT is an accredited institution. It offers many online and on-campus engineering doctoral degree programs with specialization in major areas of engineering. Now, I can't say that we have got all engineering, but we definitely have anything to do with electrical, mechanical, civil, and industry and industrial. And we'll help you to choose the best qualification that you can get. So one good thing is that you can maintain a work-life balance. This is very good, and you don't have to be in geographically placed where a EIT campus is. You can be in Timbuktu and still doing a program in Melbourne or in Perth or in London, in South Africa, in Brisbane, wherever you want to do from. Online learning, you can take classes at whatever time of day works best for you. So we've got students who are working, and we've got all the programs set in such a manner that when they have to do the consultation time, it's after hours, or is there time difference. There's a good thing that there are time difference, there are time zones, and you find that it easily manages. So I mean, I've got a student in South Africa, I've got a student in Ireland, I've got a student in Saudi Arabia, I've got a student in Perth, and I've got one student in Philippines. So look at that. I mean, I've got 5 students who are working in 5 different areas, and they're all working in the industry in 5 different countries. And because it's online mode, they can always have. We have meetings every 2 weeks, and we can meet every 2 weeks online. Now, this was mentioned by uh, Shipiso that about EIT, and I just want to elaborate a bit on that. We want you to get the world-class education. We want you to gain skills that can be immediately implemented in the workforce. We don't want you to have a great J curve. We want to have a small J curve. You become useful as soon as you go to the industry because you're working in an industry problem. We've got engineering specialists. Okay, we have been doing professional certificates, diploma, advanced diplomas, undergraduates, graduates, bachelors, masters, and doctor of engineering. So we've got a whole selection of various levels of education, starting from professional certificate all the way up to the doctorate program. Our programs are all industry oriented, so it's delivered by the industry experts. It ensures that you graduate come out with the cutting edge skills that will be valued by your employers. Our program content remains current with rapidly changing technology. You understand, engineering changes very rapidly, and there is industry development happening every day. We are a world class Australia's accredited education. Our vocational program, as well as the higher education degrees, are all registered and is accredited by the Australian government. We have programs that are also recognized under the International Engineering Accord. The engineering program that we have are recognized by Engineers Australia. This comes under the Washington Accord. The diploma program comes under the Sydney Accord. Different accords are there. Now, where the lecturers come from? Everywhere in the world, wherever you find the best person who can give the applied knowledge. The technologies applied by EIT, both online and on campus, enable us to source our lectures from a large global pool of expertise. You never know that you might be based in Australia, but your lecturer could be in Spain. We have a unique delivery model. We deliver our program via a unique methodology that makes use of live and interactive webinars, an international pool of expert lecturers, dedicated learning support officers, and state of the art technology such as hands on workshop, remote laboratories, and simulation software. Why do you want to do EIT, a DEng program at EIT? First of all, this is a unique program. This type of program is hardly available anywhere. The second thing is that it's flexible. Because it's online, it can suit you as a working professional. We want people in the working professional to come and join this program so that you have the practical experience. And we find that those who have practical experience take the least amount of time. Is work integrated? That means it links your education to workplace issues and solve problems that you are passionate about in an innovative and flexible ways. The delivery is online. It's a unique method, and it has been honed over 10 years. So 10 years of experience is there before we have finalized this program. The research, you will pursue an independent investigation into research problem of your own design that makes a significant and original contribution to the knowledge. See that? Significant and original contribution to the knowledge in the context of professional practice. Then it is industry oriented. That means applied research is not fundamentally basic theoretical research, is applied, industry focus, and the mutual benefit both to the industry and academia. Contribution, it prepares candidates for the highest level of professional practice in which they can contribute significantly to the development of discipline in engineering. So, in conclusion, I can only wish you good luck. I can tell you this thing, not because I have developed this program, but I can tell you this thing that DEng at EIT is a challenging expedition to the frontiers of human knowledge. No matter the outcome, you will gain and learn a lot about your field and yourself. Um, with that, I have completed my presentation. Shipiso, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was a pleasure. So, guys, up on your screen are the dates that we have available for our Doctor of Engineering programs that will be starting in 2025. Unfortunately, for the online program as well as the online program as well as the on-campus program, the intake dates are closed. We've just closed applications, so you will have to wait for the courses that will start next year. I'm just going to put a link in the in the description, yeah, in the chat box, so that you guys are able to see the Doctor of Engineering programs. We even do a comparison between what a PhD and what a Doctor of Engineering is. You guys can just follow the link and actually see it on the website. Like Dr. Kalam said, you're able to study this program from wherever you are around the world. So depending on where you are, if you're looking to study online, you are more than welcome to do so. We do also have the on campus option that you will see up on our website. So all the dates are there. However, I'm always going to put in my email address. Should you guys have further questions relating to the program, I would be happy to chat to you about this. I can give you a call or we can communicate on email, whichever one works best for you. So we will have upcoming webinars. So the next one to follow is on the 1st of August. It's still going to be based on our Doctor of Engineering concept. So telling you the tips and tricks that Professor Kalam has to tell you guys about in order for you to complete your applications. So you can see the dates there. We have about 5 more webinars to go for the year. You guys are more than welcome to register for them, and then you can join us next time when we hold a session.
Sipusho, could you mention about the certificate? They're all asking about the certificate.
Okay, so this Doctor of Engineering webinar does not have a certificate of attendance as per all our Doctor of Engineering webinars. This is an information session where Dr. Kalam essentially shares his knowledge and skills on how to complete a concise Doctor of Engineering research project. So this is not one of our technical webinars. For all our technical webinars, you can go on the EIT website to actually see which webinar will run. This webinar unfortunately does not have a certificate attached. In any case, you guys can complete the survey and leave us any tips and tricks that you have for us. Perhaps you have some suggestions as to what you'd like to see on our new webinars or other webinars. We'd be happy to take any of your suggestions so that we can implement them and actually have something that you guys would like to see next time we hold a webinar. So I think we have a couple of questions. If you have any questions for Professor Kalam, please raise your hand so that I can make you a presenter and then you're able to communicate with the professor. I will just mute myself and put my details in the chat box, as well as the link to the website in case you guys have any questions after the webinar.
Jackson is asking whether he has a master's program that ends in June. Is there any chance of being accepted for March intake?
So
I don't
Jackson,
know. It all depends on the committee, and so you better write to EIT, get the info from them, and fill in the application. It doesn't cost you anything, and then tell them what's the situation, that you're finishing it in June, but you want to start for the March intake. Is that clear to you, Jackson?
hopefully it is Dr. Kalam. However, I'm actually going to provide Jackson with my email address so that he can send me an email and then I will be happy to forward it to the relevant parties and get him some assistance on that. So I've actually just provided you with my email, Jackson. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and I will be happy to assist you with that. Guys, if you have any questions
Yeah,
that you would
there's a
like
question from
Professor
Richard
Kalam.
Data. Richard wants to talk.
Okay, just a moment, please. Let me just give Richard. Okay, there you go, Richard. You're more than welcome to ask your questions to the professor.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. I think this has been insightful. And of course, I'm currently doing my DEng as well. I just wanted you emphasize the point of resources in terms of choosing the methodology that you would like to use. And of course, that requires you to be able to think individually whether you could be able to finance the research methodology that you want to choose, that you want to undertake, or whether you can get resources from elsewhere or support from the university. I'm just trying to ask this to figure out whether there are ways that the university can be able to support I remember when I did my bachelor's at EIT, a percentage of, I think I was allocated some percentage if there are resources that I would like to use to undertake my research. And I don't know whether this is the direction that EIT has for a Doctor of Engineering or not.
There was very much Shipusu, there was so much noise uh, behind the scene I could not hear. Can you write it down? Can you just write it down so I can respond to your question in the
Okay, I'll
chat
do that.
box?
Yes, please.
Sorry, Richard, to
Richard,
make you do that, but I can't hear.
As we wait for your question, I do believe that Remy had their hand up. Remy, do you still have a question for Professor Kalam? If so, please write in the chat box that you do have a question so that I can give you presenting rights, please.
Richard, I've just sent you my email address. It's just in case if you want me to send an email, if you can't type it now.
Professor Kalam, I think Remy is unresponsive. I don't know if we have any questions. If there
Yes.
are any further questions for Professor Kalam, please, guys, raise your hands or leave them in the chat box. I will be sure to give you presenting rights. I'm just going to check if we have any more questions.
Shipishu, I don't think there's any more question.
I believe so too,
So
Professor
can we
Kalam.
leave? Yep.
I think so.
And bye bye to everyone, and thank you very much for attending the session today. You have a great day.
Thank you so much, Professor Kalam. Guys, on the screen is our website as well as other information in order to contact us. I've left my email in the inbox or in the chat box rather. If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. I've also included a link to our Doctor of Engineering program. Should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We will be happy to assist. See you on the next webinar. It was a pleasure seeing you all today. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.